welcome to Viewpoint. My name is Volodymyr Solohub, and right now I'm joined by Imam Nuridin from Islamic Culture Centre in Kyiv. Imam Nuridin, welcome to Viewpoint.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. And let me greet you with Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. And also, I'm going to start, as all Muslims start, with this words, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which means in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful.
Thank you, Imam Nuridin. Very, very glad to see you. So we would like to discuss with you the question of the rights of Crimean Tatars in Crimea, who are mostly Muslim. Because following last year's Russia's illegal annexation of Crimean Peninsula, there was a big prosecution of Crimean Tatars, of activists in Crimea. So what is the situation right now? How is the situation with rights of Crimean Tatars in Crimea?
Of course, we are very, very worried about the situation right now with the Muslims in Crimea. Why? Because still we hear news that some of the activists among Crimean Tatars, among Muslims of Crimea, still followed by police, for example, of Russian Federation. Another point that if we look for Muslims and the madrasa, or schools where people can study Islamic knowledge, also situation is very bad. We know that, and I think everyone heard about that, that police wearing masks and weapons.
Yeah, Imam Nuridin, there were reports of numerous raids, both on Majlis, which is the local self-governing body of Crimean Tatars, on schools. Has this practice stopped?
Right now, we don't hear about that anymore. But still, what we know, from 14 madrasa, the schools of Islamic knowledge, only 2 of them now are working. So it means that...
Why the others are not working?
Because they didn't get license. And I think that someone tries to isolate Crimean Tatars and Muslims from Islamic education.
Do you consider this as violation of national minority rights of Crimean Tatars or violation of religious rights, or both?
I think it's both. Why? Because Crimean Tatars is the second population in Crimea. And of course they have need of following the tradition, religion, but now what we see, the rights of Crimean Tatars are abused. So this is the point.
Is something being done to protect the rights of Crimean Tatars on the international level? Because obviously you won't find justice in Russia.
Yeah, that's correct. Of course, we hope for European Organization of Human Rights that they do somehow change situation, but until now, I don't see that too many changes.
I'm sorry. Apart from hoping, are the Crimean Tatars doing actually something to help themselves? Are they writing complaints? Are they writing reports? Are they reporting these violations?
Okay, they do report indeed, but only abroad of Crimea. You know. Inside of Crimea...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking to, international organizations, because obviously only the international organizations or international judiciary bodies can influence Russia.
We know that representatives of Majlis, they do a lot in Europe to help to change situation in Crimea. But inside of Crimea, of course, it's very difficult. I wanted to tell also about the forbiddenness of Islamic literature in Crimea. And this is a very funny situation because some of the books are forbidden to keep it in the home library. For example, we say about Fortress of Muslim, the very small book, this is like pocket book, which every Muslim has it in his own library, and it's forbidden, you know? So this is sort of funny.
Imam Nuridin, can you explain to us how does that correspond to the protection of religious rights of Muslims in Russia? Because there are a lot of Muslims who are Russian citizens who live in Russian mainland. A lot of people from Southeast Russia, from Chechnya, they are religiously Muslims.
They are.
So Is this the same situation with their rights in Russia,
Exactly.
or the Crimean Tatars are being treated differently?
Exactly. This is the same situation in Russia with the rest of the Muslims as well. And I know 2 years before, even the translation of the Holy Quran, the book of the Muslims, was forbidden. This is unbelievable.
Okay, so now that we've established that these violations of religious rights are happening not only in Crimea but also in Russia's mainland, is the Muslim community, the Russian Muslim community, the Muslim community in Crimea, doing something to appeal perhaps to the Middle East, to the more powerful countries in the Middle East, such as United Arab Emirates or other religious institutions who could influence Russia to stop these practices?
Well, of course, in Russia, too many Muslims and too many also religious organizations, and they do what they can. Of course, they call for Islamic countries, representatives in Islamic countries, but unfortunately, they don't have enough influence to influence Russia and change situation. But what I know that some organization, they went to court in Russia Federation, and they changed the situation. So this forbiddenness of translation of Quran was changed. So now people can free read the translation of Quran. So we hope that somehow situation will change in a better way, of course.
What about the situation with the Muslim minority in eastern Ukraine? Obviously, there aren't as many Muslims in eastern Ukraine as, for example, in Crimea, but still. And these territories are now not under the control of the Ukrainian government. They are being run by Russia-backed militants. What is happening there?
Well, situation is also very difficult, but not so as in Crimea. So what I want to say that in Donbas region, not so many Muslims as in Crimea. But what they need right now is just food, clothes, and money to live. Because some of them live in a war zone. And of course, they don't have possibility to get the salary or to work. So we are trying to help them. Of course, through the volunteers organization, we collect here some money, some food, and send them there.
What about the respect for their religious rights? Are their religious rights being respected? Do they have the possibility to practice their religion?
Yeah, they do. And I didn't hear that Muslims in the Donbas region were under pressure of militants. No, there is no problem, and they can freely go to the mosque and do the prayers.
So, Imam Nuridin, going back to the situation in Crimea, in your opinion, what needs to be done to stop these unlawful practices?
Well, I think here is the question of gathering too many institutes to work on it. So this is a non-government organization, this is some activists, they should speak about it more and of course speak about it abroad and call for international community to put pressure on Russian Federation to change the situation. And what I wanted to tell you also that due to this occupation, there is some pluses still. Because of very difficult times, too many Crimean Tatars, they came back to the religion. They came back to the mosques. They do their prayers. So this is the good side. And I think that Russian Federation is afraid that on this base they can gather it again. So that's why we are talking about that abusing of religious rights of Crimean Tatars.
Well, it looks like that despite these gruesome violations, there is some light of hope, some ray of hope for the Crimean Tatars, and also hopefully some positive moments as well. Imam Nuridin, many thanks for finding the time to come and talk to us and sharing your thoughts about the situation of Crimean Tatars in Crimea. This has been Volodymyr Solohub for Viewpoint, together with Imam Nuridin from Islamic Culture Centre in Kyiv. Thank you for watching us.